Welcome to Dancin Moon Songcast. I'm Scott Simpson, casting from Dancin Moon Studio in Spearfish Canyon on the north end of the Black Hills of South Dakota, right on the banks of the Spearfish Creek. If you'd like to follow along, you can download a free PDF from my lyric book from scottsimpsonmusic.com/lyrics, and of course you can find links to all my music there as well. So let's get casting and find out what song we're going to talk about this time. Well, in today's episode, we're going to take a listen to Punch Another Hole from 2010's Letting the Sunlight Back In LP. So we'll give a listen to Punch Another Hole and then talk about it on the other side.
There's a hole in the bottom of the ocean. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Lots of muck coming up on the beaches as far as I can see. Yeah. Lots of people feeding their addiction. Everybody got some place to go. Every rig is another shed needle. Gotta drill, baby, drill some more. And if you have a closed fist, every problem, well, it's just another time to explode. And if you have your eyes closed in this darkness, well, you're only gonna find one solution. Yeah. You're gonna punch your mother hole. Gonna punch another hole. There's a hole in the bottom of my pocket. There's a hole in the market share. There's a bookie who'll take your bet anytime, anywhere. Yeah. There's a sucker born every minute who's gonna mortgage off his soul. All it takes is a shiny shovel, gonna dig his own hole, yeah. And if you have a closed fist, every problem, well, it's just another time to explode. And if you have your eyes closed in this darkness, you're only gonna find one solution, yeah. Punch another hole. Punch another hole. There's a hole at the end of the muzzle. Don't get in my way. 1,000 more are coming right behind me, gonna make you change your ways. Every hole is a mouth to a tunnel stretching back to an empty place. Every eye looking down the barrelwears another human face, yeah. If you have a clenched fist, every problem, well, it's just another time to explode. And if you got your eyes closed, yeah, in this darkness, well, you're only gonna find one solution, yeah. Punch another hole, yeah. Gonna punch another hole. If you have a closed fist, every problem, well, it's just another time to explode. If you got your eyes closed in this darkness,
Oh, this ship's a-sinking. So that's Punch Another Hole, and we'll get into the lyrics here in just a little bit, and kind of what sparked the song, written back in 2010 when this album came out, and this album deals with a whole lot of political issues that were going on at the time, things that I was deeply concerned about. And I think there's some real resonance. One of the reasons I picked, I thought this would be a good one to go into is kind of things that are happening right now for us as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But I'd like to start with this phrase that begins the song. Oh, this ship's a-sinking, and also ends it. We've got those kind of distant vocals there, multiples singing, oh, this ship's a-sinking, oh, this ship's a-sinking. So there's an old Jewish parable about a community of people who are traveling in a boat together. They're all in a wooden boat. And this guy, one of the guys in the boat, pulls out a kind of a drill, kind of a hand drill, and starts drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat right beneath where he's sitting. And the other people say, hey, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hang on, you're drilling holes in the boat. And he says, what's the matter to you? I'm drilling under my spot. I'm not drilling under your spot. So of course, the parable is about the fact that I don't get to do that. I don't get to say, this is my spot, and so what I do here doesn't have any impact on you, because at some level we're all in this boat together. And so what I do to my spot on this small and somewhat fragile planet affects everybody. We're all interconnected. That's the point of the parable. And so that begins the song and ends the song. Of course, what sparked this, if you recall, back in 2010, a couple of different things a lot of things were going on actually back then. But one of the big things that I recall at that time that really sparked this song was the Deepwater Horizon disaster, the oil spill, the explosion that killed I think 17 and maybe more people. And then I recall watching. It felt like for months. I think it was just weeks. But watching the video underneath at the bottom of the Gulf, watching this hole spew oil into the Gulf of Mexico, barrels and barrels and hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. And the best scientists of the time trying to figure out how in the world we were going to stop it. It was like we're just gonna we've done it now. We've punched this hole. We're just gonna fill the ocean with oil and kill everything and kill ourselves. And so we were all watching this and worrying about it. And of course, eventually they did get it capped. But it was the worst, the largest oil spill ever to date, and just a horrific disaster in the Gulf and to all the coastline around there and to all the everything, and we're still measuring that. We're still measuring the damage, and we will be for many, many, many years. So that's what sparked the song, and this question about why do we do this violence? I guess that's the way I want to look at this. Why do we have violent, hole-punching solutions, both to our problems and to our needs? Because quite often, the violent solution the punch another hole, the lash out with the power because we have it, quite often it solves something for us, but it creates much more problem than we had before. So maybe you're realizing why I'm talking about this today. Anyway, so we'll take a look at these. We'll take a look at these lyrics and go through this. And that's not the Deepwater Horizon is not the only thing that sparked this, but that and that parable, that Jewish parable that I think I had read around that time, really sparked with a kind of the seed for the growth of this song. So, okay, so we begin. Oh, this ship's a-sinkin'. Oh, this ship's a-sinkin'. There's a hole in the bottom of the ocean. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. And of course, those two lines are kind of stolen. I don't know if you sang that little camp song. It's kind of a fun kids song. To me, starting with those two lines, the funny kids song, because you sing about what's in the hole, and it's just this fun, repeat all the verses kind of kids song that we sing at. Yeah, well, this is not that. This is something horrific and disturbing. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off the news feed of just pumping the oil into the Gulf. There's a hole at the bottom of the ocean. There's a hole in the bottom of the sea. Lots of muck coming up on the beaches as far as I can see. Yeah. Lots of people feeding their addictions. Everybody's got someplace to go. Every rig is another shared needle. Got to drill, baby, drill some more. Okay, so this first verse deals with, of course, our addiction to petroleum. What a great solution we saw that as. We find these giant pockets of basically ancient living things, organic matter that the sun had grown and embedded this wonderful rich energy in, and they've been buried for millions of years, and we find these pockets and suddenly we pump them up and we can do all kinds of stuff with them. The big problem being, of course, what that does, both in the destruction of getting at it, but also what it does in what the byproducts that are pumped into our environment. Okay, even when we're not spilling and making an accidental mess, just using the petroleum, what that does to our environment. But more than that, the addiction that we get to something to which we have limited supply. We don't have unlimited petroleum and coal. We don't have unlimited oil. It will run out. What do we do when we have built, right at the moment, 7 billion human beings on the planet, very much addicted to having that petroleum? When it runs out, what do we do? And having the forethought to think about that. And of course, a little bit of my frustration, the folks around that time and earlier, whenever someone would say, "Hey, wait a minute, we got to stop. We got to think about this before we drill more up in the Arctic Circle," or all of this stuff. No, drill, baby, drill, baby, drill. Let's drill. Just that idea. Let's just keep doing it because we can. Let's punch some more holes, get the good stuff out. Hey, don't worry about it. Okay, so the song is about solving the problems by punching another hole. By doing it, because we got the strength, the power to do it, we can just do it and get it. And who cares about the ramifications or the greater problem that we create? So we get to the chorus. And if you have a closed fist, every problem is just another time to explode. And if you have your eyes closed in this darkness, you're only going to find one solution. You're going to punch another hole. You're going to punch another hole. So this is about the posture of having your hands, your fists clenched. I'm ready to act out of anger, out of power. And my eyes are closed, so I'm not looking for other solutions. You get in my way, you're going to feel my wrath. That kind of attitude doesn't go very far in solving problems creatively. It goes a long way in creating problems, problems that we didn't have before. So we get to the next verse. There's a hole in the bottom of my pocket. There's a hole in my market share. There's a bookie who'll take your bet anytime, anywhere. There's a sucker born every minute, gonna mortgage off his soul. All it takes is a shiny shovel. He's gonna dig his own hole. Okay, so another form of violence, and that's the violence that can be, not always. I don't want to demonize money. But a lot of violence can be bound up in money. A lot of violence can be done through funding. A lot of violence can be stored up and just waiting. One of the things that comes to mind right now in our current, where we're just entering into an election year, and there's a lot of talk right now. We have on the Democrat side of things. We've got a whole lot of candidates who are running and trying to raise funds because that's what you do and that's what you have to do. And we've got right now at the moment 2 billionaires who just have deep pockets and they've just got tons of money, and they can move forward by virtue of the fact that they have the stuff, they have the money. Okay, so once again, you've got this potential with the inequity in the world. Those who have a lot can do a lot, and quite often do a lot of damage. Now, they could do a lot of good as well, but doing a lot of good with money has more to do with what was the song we used to sing in Sunday school? Love is something if you give it away. Doing a lot of good with money has to do with getting it where it needs to be, not just in my pocket. Now, the addictive part of this, of course, is if I do have a hole in my pocket, if there's a hole in my market share, if I'm losing stuff, I become desperate, I become angry, and I'm ready to punch a hole. I'm ready to figure out what desperate thing can I do to get the money back. And you see that. You see it at casinos. You see it in crazy investment. You see it with people trying to rip others off. Scrambling to get the money. So another form of violence, another form of punching holes is that having that money, or becoming desperate if the money is not there, if I'm losing, if my investments are not doing well. And those two things are tied together. I mean, I think it was Eisenhower who warned us about the military-industrial complex, that the big problem with the military buildup is that it is a huge economic benefit. And so we lose sight of what war is and what that violence is, because, my goodness, we got to have our fix. We've got a huge part of our economy dependent on military action, on military work. How could we give that up? We got to find a new war. We got to find somebody to go police, because we need that economic boost. Eisenhower warned us of that. We still haven't, doesn't seem like we've heeded his warning. So then we have a repeat of the chorus. We'll read through the chorus one more time in a little bit, but I want to get on to the third verse. There's a hole at the end of the muzzle. Don't get in my way. 1,000 more are coming right behind me, going to make you change your ways. Every hole is a mouth to a tunnel, stretching back to an empty place. Every eye looking down the barrel wears another human face. So this verse is really about that, very specifically about that violence, about our solutions being militaristic, our solutions being another battle, being another missile, another drone. And we continue to do this, which brings me to the current situation. We're here right smack dab in the middle of January 2020. And so I don't know when you're listening to this, but what we're obsessed about right now is just a week or so ago, our president gave the order to take out Soleimani, who was the military leader in Iran. There's a lot of debate going on right now as to whether there was an imminent threat or if this was just a random assassination. There's debate connected with motive. Is this about the current impeachment trial that's going on, the impending election that's coming up, a distraction, or was this a valid thing to do? So all of this discussion is going on. But what's, I think, really important, despite the agreement across the board that Soleimani was a horrific person who had killed many, many, many people, the question remains, did this action, this punching a hole, this taking him out with a missile, did this make us safer? So at the moment, we're in the wake of Iran having responded by sending missiles and destroying one of our bases in Iraq. Fortunately, we had enough intelligence to not have any casualties there. But it looks as though Iran also potentially took down a Ukrainian passenger plane full of hundreds of civilians, many who were actually Iranian. In the wake and in the fear and in the fog of this fear, the fog of war, as some have called it, after Soleimani's assassination. So whether or not taking Soleimani out was a good thing, it has created a situation that led to the deaths of hundreds of civilians on a plane, just headed home somewhere, hit by a missile. So the question embedded in the song is, does punching another hole really solve anything? Does the violent reaction really solve anything? Or does it threaten to sink our collective ship? I'll go back, take one more look at the chorus. And if you have a closed fist, every problem is just another time to explode. And if you have your eyes closed in this darkness, you're only going to find one solution. You're going to punch another hole, punch another hole. Oh, the ship's a-sinking. Oh, the ship's a-sinking. Oh, the ship's a-sinking. So if you know anything about brain research, you know that there's a part of our brain called the amygdala that is very good at responding and punching holes, responding fight or flight, sometimes freeze. It's really helpful when you're being attacked by a wild animal or something like that. It's something we've had for a long time in our DNA. But what this amygdala does is it takes over the thinking. It floods the body with chemicals and it prevents creative compassionate, empathetic thinking, while the amygdala, while that part of the brain is active, that frontal cortex is not active. And that's the part where we come up with our rich solutions, our creative solutions, our empathetic solutions, our compassionate responses. So as we practice punching holes, we actually practice not being compassionate, not being empathetic, and not thinking creatively, not finding rich, wonderful solutions that are beneficial to all of us. We simply practice putting holes in the bottom of the boat. So, music-wise, the entire album is rock, and so had a really good time with that. This was, I think, probably the first album that I really decided that's just kind of the genre I'm looking at, and so I had a great time with the instrumental breaks and the electric guitar. I'm no kind of guitar hero. I don't wield my electric axe too often, but it was a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun doing that because that's the kind of music I loved growing up. I was a huge Zeppelin, Yes, prog rock, Rush, Kansas. Oh my gosh! So all of that good stuff. I got to play rock star for a little bit on this album, but it was fitting because it was an angry album. It was a protest album. It was saying, "Hey, we've got some problems. We need to wake up," and we need to wake up not in anger. Not wake up punching holes, not wake up reacting, but wake up thinking creatively, eyes open, hands open, hearts open. So there we have it. That's Punch Another Hole from Letting the Sunlight Back In from 2010. Thank you for joining me for Dancin' Moon Songcast. I'm Scott Simpson, and you can go over to ScottSimpsonMusic.com and find all links to all my music, lyrics, all of that stuff. You can also follow and stream me on Spotify, on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, anywhere else you like to stream your music. I've got currently at the moment 25 albums out there, real mix of genres and styles. So you'll find something you like and maybe find a couple of things you don't like as well. Anyway, join me every Friday. We put out a new episode. Thanks again for joining me at Dancin' Moon Songcast. Be well.